Hey everybody, welcome to Parable Wednesday. This is our last Parable Wednesday. Next week we are going to switch to Miracle Wednesdays because who doesn't like to hear about miracles? So today's parable is a really famous one called the Good Samaritan. And remember, a parable is a story that Jesus used to teach. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of what they were talking about leading into this parable. So some people were trying to trick Jesus. They were testing him because remember, not everyone liked Jesus. And so they asked him, teacher, because they were trying to butter him up, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Kind of meaning, what do I have to do to get to heaven? And Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind. And then he said, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. We've heard that before, haven't we? And now this other guy was like, well, teacher, who is my neighbor? Trying to trick him again. But this is how Jesus taught. This is how Jesus answered using a parable, because that's what Jesus would do. But I'm going to move these guys out of the way here because I have some other friends who are going to come up and help me tell this story. So one day there was a man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he's just walking down the street. And then out of nowhere, some bandits came, and they beat him up, and they stole all of his stuff, and they left him on the side of the road to die. That's why I picked our little Frankenstein there. It seemed to fit well. And so he's just laying on the side of the road all by himself. Can you imagine how that would feel? And that he probably was just wishing and hoping and praying that someone would come and help him. And then walking down the street comes a priest. Now, Jesus doesn't tell us where the priest is going, but the priest sees the man lying there. This guy's probably thinking, oh, yay, someone's going to come and help me. But you want to know what the priest does? He crosses to the other side of the road and walks by. The Bible doesn't tell us this, but my guess is he would walk, and when you don't want to make eye contact with someone because you don't want him to know that you see them, I kind of feel like that's what the priest did, and he left. And then a Levite came walking. He sees the man. What do you think the Levite did? If you guess that he did the exact same thing as the priest did, you would be right. He crossed the street. Maybe he walked this way. Did a side shuffle down the street. So now two people. Now, what you need to remember too are the priest and the Levite would have been people who worked in the church. People who should have stopped to help. And then now we get to the Samaritan. Now what's important to know is the people listening to this parable would not have liked the Samaritans. They would have thought that they were evil. You remember how the priest and the Levite crossed the street to walk on the other side of the man? That's what Jews would do if they saw a Samaritan. They would cross the street. So the people listening to this story would think that Samaritans were bad people. And so now here comes a Samaritan walking down the street. And he sees the man laying there. What do you think the Samaritan did? If you guess that he did what the priest and the Levite did, you'd be wrong. Because what he did was he went and he checked on the man. And then he bandaged him. And he put oil on to help heal him. And he gave him some wine because he's been laying out in the desert a long time. He was probably really hot and tired. And he took care of him, and then he's like, hey, donkey, come here. And so then he put him on the donkey, and they went, and he helped the man into an inn, like a hotel, and he gave the innkeeper money, and he said, here we go. Here's money. I will do whatever he needs to take care of him, and I'll be back in a couple of days, and if there's extra money that you need, I will pay that money for him too. So this Samaritan had never met this man, but he stopped and he took care of him. And he even paid money to make sure he was taken care of. And so Jesus asked that man who was trying to trick him, and he said, which one of these was the neighbor? Which one of these was the good neighbor? And the man had to say the Samaritan, that last guy. And Jesus said, go and treat the others that way. Now, it's really easy to look at these two friends here and be like, ooh, they messed up. And you know something, they did. They did not do what God wanted them to do in the story. But we also need to remember that sometimes we do that. I wore this shirt on purpose today because it says, I'm the reason we are late, because I am notoriously always running late. Anyone out there identify with that? Because here's the thing. Maybe these guys were just running late. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they thought it was a trap. But sometimes God is calling us to be like the Samaritan and to just treat other people well. I hope you liked the parable today. You can leave any comments that you want to down below, and I will see you next week for a miracle. Bye.